People don't notice when you disappear. They only notice when you stop serving. You spend years being everyone's support, but you collapse alone in the bathroom. You cry quietly, wipe your face, and return to smile as if nothing happened. You believe this is maturity.
But it is fear. Fear of being selfish. Fear of bothering people. Fear of finally being yourself and no one staying. You became a specialist in swallowing frustrations, in understanding the other person's side, in giving in. But no one notices that you have been annulling yourself for so long that you no longer even know what you like. You are not pleasant. You are imploring for love in disguise. Science already has a name for this: people-pleasing. More than 60% of people with emotional burnout exhibit this trait. But no one talks about this seriously because society still rewards the helpful and discards those who stand their ground. Being too good has become an emotional trap. The more you try to please, the more you disappear. The more you say yes, the more you hear, "He's such a good guy. He understands." And the more you understand, the more they forget you. This video is for those who are tired of being strong all the time. For those who realize that being too good is not a virtue, it is self-abandonment. Today, we are going to unravel the paradox of being too good. You will discover why limitless goodness does not make you better. It only makes you a target. And what to do when what you were taught as kindness is destroying you inside. The good ones are the first to get sick and the last to be noticed. This is the silent tragedy of compulsive kindness. The type of person who helps until it hurts, smiles to avoid conflict, empties themselves to see the other full, but no one sees it. Because no one perceives the weight of an armor when it seems to be made of gentleness. There is something unhealthy about being pleasant all the time. Something that looks noble on the outside, but inside is just desperation for belonging. Harriet B. Breaker, psychologist and author of the book The Disease to Please, was direct. People who live to please believe, deep down, that they need to be useful to deserve love. It is a primitive belief, often shaped in childhood, where affection came as a reward for good behavior. You couldn't cry, or make mistakes, or say no. That's how you learn to be loved for performance. The problem? It grows. It becomes a pattern. It becomes a prison. This type of personality, what clinical studies call chronic compliancy, relates unequally to the world, always giving, rarely receiving, and this exacts a high price. According to psychologist Gabor Mate, excessively compliant people carry the repressed anger of those who never allowed themselves to fully exist. Suffocated rage, accumulated sadness, a body on constant alert. These people chronically develop high levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, and when the body screams, the soul had been screaming for a long time. But the world applauds this behavior. At work, you are the one who helps everyone. In the family, the good heart of the house. In relationships, the one who always gives in, always understands. What no one says is that, over time, the one who never receives turns into a field of ashes, without energy, without identity, without a voice. The philosopher Ayn Rand, despite being controversial, said something brutally true. When you live for others, everyone benefits, except you. You begin to exist to the extent of what you serve, and then it is no longer kindness. It is emotional servitude. This prison is subtle but suffocating. It has no bars, but it has guilt. It has no handcuffs, but it has the constant demand to please, as if your worth depended on it. You might even be smiling, but deep down you are begging for someone to truly see you, and not for convenience, but for existence. Being too good is often just the most sophisticated way to beg for love. You think you are being generous, available, attentive, but behind so much giving, there is hunger. An ancient emotional hunger for validation, for recognition, for affection. And you learn to buy that by offering everything of yourself, even when they don't ask for it, even when no one reciprocates. Love for you became a currency, and kindness a form of payment. Erich Fromm, in Escape from Freedom, said, "Man flees from freedom because he is afraid of being alone." And many flee that loneliness by offering what they believe will make them indispensable. Affection without demanding, help without limit, presence without reciprocity. But what begins as giving soon becomes contaminated with expectation. You hope they will reciprocate, even a little. And when they don't, you don't understand. How is it possible that someone doesn't value everything I did for them? That is where you break. And you realize that your gentleness was not so gratuitous. It came with an emotional bill. Being pleasant becomes an investment. You deposit time, attention, empathy, and when you don't see a return, you go into crisis. This is the hidden perversion of strategic kindness. It pretends to be altruism, but it is desperation. It pretends to be love, but it is a disguised contract. There is something deeply human and at the same time dangerous in this pattern. It is human to want to be accepted, but it is tragic to condition that on your usefulness. You believe that if you give enough, someone will choose you, but the other person does not see you as a person. They see you as a structure, a means, a support, a bridge. And bridges are not loved. They are used to cross over. The philosopher Byung-Chul touches on this with coldness. In The Burnout Society, he writes, "The excess of positivity transforms the subject into an object of performance. Being too good, always available, always cheerful, always understanding, turns you into an emotional employee of others. You offer yourself so much, so easily, so predictably, that you lose value. Someone without a boundary has no shape, and someone without shape is not remembered." There is a phrase that hurts, but needs to be said. Whoever loves too much usually does not know how to love themselves. The deficiency became an emotional marketing project. But love is not bought with goodwill. Affection is not forced with favors. Either they love you for free, or they don't truly love you. The world does not reward those who are good. It rewards those who appear to be strong. It is cruel, but it is true. We live in an era where coldness commands, respect and gentleness delays. The logic is reversed. If you are too good, they immediately think you are weak. If you understand too much, they quickly become indifferent to you. Excessive heart became a sign of practical uselessness. You strive to be light, but the world only respects those who weigh heavy. Nietzsche had already foreseen it. What is good is not what is pleasant. It is what imposes itself. The morality of the strong was always superior to that of the submissive. And in practice, this means that society values those who mark territory, not those who offer comfort. In a world saturated with stimuli, those who give too much are forgotten, and those who are too rough are noticed. Studies in social psychology show that individuals with narcissistic and dominant traits are more successful in competitive environments. They talk louder, make quick decisions, show less doubt. These traits are mistaken for competence. In contrast, the gentle are seen as indecisive, insecure, harmless, even when they are more competent, even when they carry the structure on their backs. You must know this scene. That colleague who treats everyone poorly but gets promoted. That cold, indifferent person who conquers. While you, always respectful, empathetic, available, are relegated. It is not a coincidence. It is a pattern. Current culture venerates performance, not character. If you do not seem difficult to access, you lose value, and this kills you inside. Byung-Chul describes it accurately. The society of transparency values exposure but disdains depth. That is, the more you try to be genuine, the more invisible you become. It's not that the world hates good people. It simply doesn't have time for them. Goodness does not go viral. Empathy does not generate clicks. The one who loves carefully does not win a stage. They win silence. And what this teaches the good is that being too kind is an invitation to be forgotten. Not because there is malice in others, but because there is haste, and haste runs over what is subtle. There are people who only feel they exist when they are useful, It is hard to say, but there are people who no longer know how to exist outside the role of the savior. People who don't know how to rest, don't know how to receive, don't know how to just be a person. They need to be serving, fixing, giving, as if stopping means they cease to have value. But this is not virtue, it is a vice. The psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan said, "The subject is constituted in the desire of the other." Translating, your identity is born from the way you are desired, or not, by the world. And when the desire you learn to provoke is that of usefulness, you become addicted to annulling yourself. You don't know how to say no because deep down, you fear no longer being needed. You sacrifice yourself without anyone asking, because you got used to being loved only when you are muted. You offer yourself as a solution because you did not learn to be presence. Self-annulment begins with small silences. You stop taking a stand. Then, you stop expressing what you feel. Later, you start to doubt whether feeling that was valid. Until one day, you no longer feel anything, only exhaustion. Studies in behavioral psychology indicate that people with excessively agreeable traits have a higher propensity for silent depression. Not the one that screams, but the one that consumes slowly. Because the more you repress yourself, the more your body reacts. Chronic fatigue, psychosomatic symptoms, panic attacks. These are ways your body has of warning you that you are betraying yourself. There is a moment when being too good is no longer giving, it is fleeing. You flee from confrontation, from rejection, from the mirror. You smile when you wanted to scream. You help when you wanted to run away. You offer yourself when, in reality, you only wanted comfort. This compulsive kindness hides an emotional cowardice, the fear of being you, with everything that implies, conflicts, imperfections, choices. Viktor Frankl said, "Life demands a response from each of us. And your response, perhaps, is avoiding your own self, because your constant yes to others is often a resounding no to yourself. If you only feel important when you are annulling yourself, perhaps you learn that your existence by itself was never enough, and that is a trauma disguised as generosity. Saying no for the first time hurts. Saying no for the 100th time saves your life. There comes a point where continuing to be too good is no longer about others. It is about your cowardice to assume who you are. Because it is not difficult to be a good guy. The difficult thing is to be honest. The difficult thing is to set boundaries, to frustrate expectations, to disappoint those who use you. But the no you avoid giving to others is the yes you deny yourself. The philosopher Brené Brown has already burned this into our minds. Compassion only exists where there are firm boundaries. Without a border, there is no relationship. There is invasion. Without a limit, there is no affection. There is emotional vampirism. You are not made to be anyone's eternal resource. You are not an infinite fund of empathy or a deposit for the needs of others. You are human. And every human who respects themselves learns that love is only possible when you include yourself in it. Being fair is not always being accessible. It is being whole. Whoever fragments themselves to fit the expectations of others will never be loved, only tolerated. True strength is not in enduring everything. It is in choosing what is worth carrying. Because whoever tries to save everyone drowns with them. You need to understand one thing. No does not drive the right people away. It only repels the wrong ones. Those who leave when you stand your ground were never with you. They were with the useful version of you. And if your presence depends on your submission, that is not love, it is exploitation. The French philosopher André Comte-Sponville says, "There is no virtue in constant renunciation, only emptying. The ethical life is not servile, it is authentic. Being good does not require perpetual sacrifice. It requires the courage to be whole, even when that disappoints those who expected a piece of you. So no, you don't need to be always available. You don't need to be always nice, nor always understanding, nor always enduring. You just need to remember that being fair includes you. and that your goodness is only valuable when it does not demand your destruction. You spent your whole life trying to be good, trying to be fair, trying to deserve the place that was already yours. But perhaps today you have understood something that no one ever explained to you. Being too good does not protect you, it exposes you. And sometimes, all you need is a space where you can be completely yourself, without pruning yourself, without proving yourself, without turning yourself off. If this video touched you in any way, it's because you already knew all this. You just needed to hear it clearly. And if you made it this far, it is because this conversation matters. More than views, more than numbers, it matters to be with those who feel, with those who think, with those who truly live this. Therefore, if you want to help this content reach more people, there are several ways to do it. You can become a channel member, and, with that, have access to exclusive content, backstage material, and participate in decisions about the next videos. It is a space where we connect more closely, truly, without masks. There is also the super thanks below. It's like saying, "Thank you, this helped me," but with attitude. A direct way to keep this voice alive, firm, independent. But look, if you have only watched this far, you have already helped more than you imagine. If you like, comment, or send this video to someone who needs it, you have already been part of all this. The world needs more people who feel. And just by being here, it already shows that it is still worthwhile to talk about what no one dares to say. See you in the next one. And until then, don't forget to include yourself in everything you offer to others. You deserve it too.